So now I can say second number, assignment operator. So again, because I am going to actually enter a value of type string, I must actually convert it to a value of type integer. So here I can actually say int dot parse. So look at this method name. It starts with capital P. And then I put a pair of parentheses. And now I can say console dot read line. And finally, I need to put a pair of parentheses here. And at the end of our statements, always we must put semicolon. So now I can actually, for example, as you can see, we have this multiplication result variable, right? So I can refer to the name of this variable, multiplication result, assignment operator, and now I can just say first number multiplied. So as you can see, I actually used this multiplication operator here, multiplied by second number, semicolon. So now the result of this operation here, first number multiplied by second number, the result of this operation is going to be assigned to this multiplication result variable. So in this way, I actually initialized this variable. And finally, I can print this value to the console. So here I can say console dot write line, console dot write line, and I put a pair of parentheses. So because again, I am going to actually use interpolation expression here, I must put a $sign here, and then I put two quotes, and here I can say this is the result, or this is the multiplication result. Multiplication result. And then I put a colon here, and then I put a pair of curly braces in order to refer to the name of this variable. So inside these curly braces, I can just refer to the name of this variable, multiplication result. So this is called interpolation expression. So let me actually close this window here. And now you can see this value here, multiplication result. And finally, at the end of my statement, I need to put a semicolon. So now let's run our application. So just hold the control key on your keyboard down and then press on F5 key on your keyboard. And now let's wait a little bit here. So you can see that as you can see, our program is running and it says enter the first number. So my first number is going to be, for example, number 2. And then I just press an enter key on my keyboard and it says enter the second number here. So I'm going to enter the number 3 here. And then I am going to press an enter key on my keyboard and it says this is the multiplication result, 6, right? And then press an enter key. So now the program ended. Let's run our application again. So again, control F5. So now I am going to enter, for example, number 5 here as the first number, right? And then I'm just going to press an enter key on my keyboard and it says enter the second number here. So this time I am going to enter, for example, A. Instead of an integer value, I am going to enter a value that is actually string, right? So, and then I'm going to press an enter key on my keyboard. And now as you can see, it says unhandled exception, system.format exception. My application crashed. So look at this error here. It says retrieve data. Let me show you the error. It says retrieve data from user has stopped working. So this means that our application crashed and there was an exception in our application. So I'll talk more about exceptions and handling exceptions later. But look at this actually windows here. This means that our application crashed and we cannot continue using this application. So as you can see, this error caused by this A here. So instead of actually entering a value of the integer, I just entered the value A, right? Which is not an integer value. So our application crashed and we cannot use it. So let me actually close these windows here. And now, as you can see, I just need to press an Enter key. That, as you can see, the actually the console area is now closed. But here, let me show you these codes here. For example, when I wanted to get the value from the readLine method, which is going to return a value of type string, here, this method is just going to convert a value that is of type string to an integer value. But it's not going to actually, for example, the value that is actually a string value, for example, A, B, C. These values are not integers. And this method, parse, cannot actually convert them to an integer value. So that's why our application crashed. So now let's run our application again. So Control F5. And here, as you can see, for the first number, I can actually enter for number 23. So look at this piece of code here, console.readLine. I told you that this readLine method is going to return a value of type string. So the value that we entered here is actually a string value, right? But it is actually an integer value. So because this method can only return a value of type string, this means that this 23 is now a string value. But when it is returned, right, we are going to actually convert it to an integer value so that we can assign it to our variables here. So when I actually press an enter key on my keyboard, as you can see, number 23 is now assigned to first number. So now I can, for example, enter a value that is of type integer. So for example, number 2. This is integer value, right? But this readLine method can only return string values. So it is string, but when I actually enter number 2 here and then press an enter key on my keyboard, it's gonna actually convert it to an integer value, and it's gonna assign it to this second number, and then it's gonna execute this line of code here, and then finally it's gonna print this value to the console. So you can see this value here. This is the multiplication result, 46. And then press any key to continue, and the program is now finished. So hopefully that makes sense, and I actually taught you lots of concepts in this tutorial, in this lesson actually. So if you have any questions about the concepts that I taught you in this lesson, please post the discussion in the course, and then I do my best to answer all of your questions. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.